You've felt the shift, haven't you? The silence between you two seems to hold a secret, one he's not yet ready to share. But the angels are already whispering it to your soul. There is a man, dear soul, who hides behind timing and circumstance, but his heart is no longer silent. He craves a second chance. Not just with you, but with himself, with a version of him that was brave enough to embrace what was real. You. He thought he could forget. Move on. Silence the voice that calls your name in the solitude of his nights. But now the ache of what he almost had is louder than any distraction. The angels say, he never meant to let go. He only meant to protect the little he still knew of love. You see, your presence did something sacred. It reminded him that real love isn't comfortable, it transforms. And now he walks like a man haunted by what could still be healed. But he's scared. Scared that you've moved past the point of waiting. Scared that the light he once touched has learned to shine without him. He fears that this time, if he steps closer, he might lose you for good, not because you turned away, but because you evolved. He watches from the shadows now, tracing the outlines of what he once held. He feels your absence like a soul feels the silence of God, not empty, but profoundly divine. You were the spark he never expected, and the fire he's still learning how to carry. The angels placed you on his path not to complete him, but to awaken him. And now he must decide. Will he risk everything to hold what was always his? Or lose again, not by fate, but by fear? For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. He doesn't speak of it, not to you, not to anyone, but the war is inside him. And it didn't start with you. Long before you crossed his path, he was already building walls. Quiet ones. The kind made from avoided glances, swallowed truths, and softness turned to silence. Not because he didn't want to feel, but because feeling once led to a fall. The angels say, his heart is still wrapped in a memory where love meant loss. You weren't the cause of his distance, you became the mirror. And that's why it hurts him. You reflect back what he once buried. What he thought he had moved on from. What still breaks open when someone like you loves him purely. There's a boy inside him that never healed. A wound shaped like absence. A voice that says, don't get too close, or they'll leave too. But you didn't leave. You stayed when he doubted himself. You listened when his words failed him. You shone your light where his shadows feared exposure. And that is what frightened him. Because love like yours is not quiet. It calls the heart to awaken, to choose, to risk. And he wasn't ready to choose. So he ran, not from you, but from the version of himself he no longer recognized. The angels are clear, this is not rejection. It is resistance. A deep emotional resistance rooted in past grief, old patterns, and silent promises made to survive. He's been trained to believe that love ends in loss. So when love offered him a home in your heart, he only saw a door he couldn't walk through. But what if the door was never locked? What if healing isn't about him arriving perfect, but about him arriving open? Can he unlearn the lie that love always leaves? Can he believe that this time, love might actually stay? You've been holding space for him, haven't you? Quietly, fiercely. Carrying the weight of unspoken words and emotional tides he's never learned to name. But the angels lean in now, placing their hands over your heart. You were never meant to lose yourself while loving him. Your empathy is a gift, yes. But not a currency to trade for attention. Not a bridge to cross alone. There's a part of you, the part that gives and waits and hopes, that needs to be held too. And she has waited long enough. The angels say, your light isn't meant to be dimmed to soothe his fears. Even love, when not nurtured in balance, becomes a burden. You've tried to be the healer, the safe place, the answer. But your soul aches for something more than just giving. It aches to be poured into. This isn't about leaving him. It's about returning to yourself. The woman you were before he pulled away still exists, and she's wiser now. She knows that love that demands self-abandonment is not divine. So today, let yourself breathe. Step back without guilt. Reclaim your joy without apology. Let the version of you that blooms in solitude remind the world, and him, that your heart was never lost, just temporarily lent. Because when you rise in your own light, not only do you heal, you become the invitation for others to rise too. And if he ever finds the courage to love you fully, let it be the healed you he meets, not the one who waited quietly in the shadows. There's a reason he can't look at you for too long. Not because he doesn't want to, but because when he does, he sees himself. The angels whisper, your eyes reflect a truth he's not yet ready to face. You became a mirror. Not of his charm or strengths, but of the cracks he thought no one could see. And still, you stayed. Still, you saw beauty. But he saw exposure, vulnerability, a reflection that said, here is everything you've buried. And here is someone who loves you anyway. It's not your fault that your love made him uncomfortable. Love, when pure, does that. It pierces the ego. It strips the armor. And oh, how he tried to keep that armor on. You saw through him. Past the distance. Past the bravado. Into the boy behind the man. And that terrified him. He's not used to being seen. He's used to being wanted for fragments, admired from afar, desired in pieces. But you loved him completely, including the parts he hides. That's the power you hold. Not just in what you offer, but in what you awaken. So if he pulls away, remember, it's not rejection. It's reverence. It's the overwhelming feeling of standing in front of someone who sees his soul and doesn't flinch. One day, he'll understand that you weren't trying to change him. You were only holding up the mirror, hoping he'd see what you already knew. He's worthy. Even in his breaking. Even in his rebuilding. And when he finally chooses to meet that reflection, he might just begin to love himself the way you already do. It started quietly, a thought, a memory, a sudden ache that wouldn't let him sleep. Not a grand moment of realization, but 1,000 tiny ones. Your laugh echoing in his mind. The way you said his name like it meant something sacred. And now? He feels the shift. The angels say, a heart doesn't awaken all at once. It remembers in pieces. That's what's happening. His heart is remembering. Not just you, but the version of himself that felt alive in your presence. It's confusing him. The way you show up in everything. In the music he once ignored. In the stillness that now feels loud. In the way he longs for your light without even meaning to. And though he hasn't said it, can't yet say it, something has begun. A reordering. A peeling back. A softening. He thought he was safe in his numbness. But your love made him feel again. And feeling, dear soul, is the first step toward healing. This is what awakening looks like. Not a declaration. A whisper. Not certainty. Curiosity. Not control. Surrender. The angels show him walking through shadows, but this time with questions, not avoidance. With wonder, not fear. And somewhere deep inside, he is beginning to believe the impossible. That maybe, just maybe, he was meant to love you all along. This isn't the end. This is the stirring. The soil breaking open before something sacred blooms. You've felt the pattern, haven't you? The closeness, then the cold. The opening, then the silence. And still you wonder, why does he come back, only to drift away again? The angels reveal, he's caught in a cycle. Not of games, but of fear. He steps toward you when the love feels safe. When your energy feels like home. But then something stirs inside him, old stories, buried shame, the echo of past losses, and he retreats. It's not that he doesn't care. It's that caring terrifies him. Because with you, he feels too much. And for someone who's learned to survive by staying numb, feeling is a flood. So he disappears, not to punish you, but to protect himself. And every time he leaves, he tells himself it's the last. That he won't come back. That he'll move on. But your soul? It lingers in his chest like a song he can't forget. And before long, he finds himself circling back again. You became his awakening, but awakenings aren't linear. They loop. They burn. They shake foundations before they rebuild. The angels say, stop trying to fix the rhythm. This is his soul's unraveling. His breaking. His remembering. And you, dear one, are not the reason for the chaos. You're the lighthouse in it. Let him return when he chooses. Let him go when he must. But never let the tides of his storm drown the stillness you fought to build within. This connection may be sacred, but your peace is holy too. He won't say it, but your love changed him. Not in loud ways, in the quiet ones. The way you listened without fixing. The way your presence didn't demand anything, but healed everything. The angels whisper, love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just stays. And you stayed. When his moods shifted like the wind. When his words failed. When his actions confused even him. You stayed with your softness. And that, dear soul, was the medicine. Because your love didn't need permission to heal. It flowed through glances, silences, half-finished conversations. It wrapped around his brokenness like light around shadows. He doesn't know how to explain it, but he feels different. Lighter. Seen. A little less afraid. It's not magic. It's what happens when the unconditional meets the unready. It's what happens when love whispers, you are safe here, even when everything inside screams run. You didn't demand transformation. You embodied it. You became the proof that not all love hurts. And slowly, like a forest after a fire, his soul began to grow again. Maybe he hasn't told you. Maybe he never will. But the healing has already happened. Because love, real love, doesn't need credit. It just needs truth. And in you, he found a love so true it began to undo everything he thought he knew about intimacy. He may never fully understand how you did it. But every part of him knows, you were the one who softened the ache. There are no accidents in the divine. The angels say, what looks like delay is often protection. What feels like silence is sacred preparation. You didn't stumble into his life. You were led. Carried. Placed like a key before a locked heart. And though he hasn't fully turned the lock, the door is already trembling. This love, it's not just emotional. It's sacred. The kind born not from chance, but from a calling. There's a reason your paths crossed at the exact moment they did. A reason he couldn't forget you, no matter how much he tried. A reason why, even now, your name finds him in moments he thought he had moved past. The angels are moving pieces you cannot see. They are softening his heart, removing what is not truth, aligning timelines that once looked impossible. But you must trust the stillness. Because heaven isn't in a hurry. And divine timing is never early, never late, only precise. You've done your part. You've held space. You've loved without conditions. And now? Now the angels ask you to rest in surrender. This journey was never about proving your worth. It was always about remembering it. He may come back when the light turns green in his soul. Or perhaps love will flourish elsewhere, but it will still be because you remained faithful to the divine flow. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. There is a tenderness within him that he keeps hidden. A softness he guards like a secret too sacred to be touched. And yet, you touched it. Without force. Without trying. The angels whisper, you found his heart not through words, but through presence. That's why he resists. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much. He knows that opening up to you means risking collapse. That love with you won't be casual. It won't be safe. It will be raw, consuming, holy. And for a heart shaped by fear, that kind of intimacy feels like drowning. So he hesitates. He pulls back. But only because you disarmed his defenses without even realizing it. In your light, his masks melt away. And that vulnerability feels like standing naked in the middle of a storm. Still, he longs. For your calm. Your clarity. Your unwavering presence. He wonders if you'll understand him when his soul forgets how to speak. If you'll still see him when he's not strong, not certain. The angels are now close, surrounding him with courage. Not the kind that charges forward, but the kind that admits, I'm scared, but I still want this. And that might be his holiest confession. Perfect love casts out fear. 1 John 4 verse 18. So if he ever lets you in, truly in, know that it's not weakness you're witnessing. It's the highest act of bravery his heart can offer. Not everything in love can be explained. Sometimes it's not about clarity, but peace. Not about answers, but presence. The angels say, you are allowed to love without understanding. You are allowed to release without bitterness. This story, yours and his, may not follow the rules of this world. It may rise, pause, return, or transform into something you never expected. But it was never about where it ended. It was always about how it grew you. You held space for love, even when it was uncertain. You chose softness in the face of silence. You remained whole in your waiting. And now, dear soul, the angels invite you to breathe again. Not because the story is over, but because your soul has evolved beyond needing it to be finished. You have become the sacred ground. The home he may return to. Or the memory he may carry forever. But either way, you loved well. And that is enough. The divine does not measure by outcome, it measures by heart. And your heart has loved in truth, in light, in surrender. Let go of the need to control what comes next. Let go of the fear that you were not enough. Let go of the illusion that love must look a certain way to be real. The angels are folding this story into a bigger one. One that includes your joy. One that protects your peace. One that honors your light. So trust. What is meant for you will always find its way back. not through force, but through recognition. And if love is truly yours, it will not need to be chased. It will arrive fully, freely, and it will stay.